Suspended Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane has been found guilty of misconduct and incompetence by the Section 194 Parliamentary Inquiry. The committee that excluded the EFF, UDM and ATM agreed with the previous opinion that found there was prima facie evidence, or there is prima facie evidence of misconduct and incompetence. We're now joined by Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane to discuss this. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time this afternoon. We understand the preliminary report is yet to be made public. To your knowledge, have you been furnished with any of the detail surrounding the preliminary report? Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Ma. Please check if you're not muted.
Oh, yes, I'm muted. Apology for that. Good afternoon to you and your listeners. I have not received any, my attorneys have not received any report. I'm also as surprised as any other person that things are being discussed and I'm not involved. And remember, I don't have legal representation. The legal representation was still reading the documentation, especially the attorneys. They were still going to brief counsel. The only brief they received, counsel, it was the recusal application. And so I just, I'm like you, I hear that on the media or what was published. I mean, they met on Sunday, apparently. And I'm still on the stand, still testifying. But now I am said to have been guilty of the charges. So in fact, I am surprised.
In fact, it goes further because there is a media statement by the Section 194 committee, and the chairperson, Mr. Gyanki, is quoted as saying that we will provide the public protector with a final, is it Audi? Don't know the legal terms, AUDI, before adopting a final report that will be sent to the National Assembly. So apparently that will find its way to you. But the committee dealt with the charge relating to whether you, Advocate Mkhwebane, incurred fruitless and wasteful and or unauthorized public expenditure in legal cost, and it deliberated on aspects related to the ballooning cost of litigation and the auditing of the PPSA, recognizing that it had achieved a clean audit under Advocate Mkhwebane. What does that tell you?
You know, that process is riddled with unlawfulness, illegality, when anchor, because at the end of the day, I am not part of the process. How can you even, I mean, you reading that, I'm still testifying, my dear. I only dealt with Bosasa and the so-called rogue unit. I haven't dealt with Friday. I haven't dealt with CX. I haven't dealt with issues of staff-related matters. I haven't dealt with the issue of the relevant financial costs and whether it's legal fees or legal costs, which they were also confused what was it all about. And what is worse as well is that they said it's committee meeting. The evidence leaders are there. They are not committee members. They deliberate on all these issues. I don't have legal representation. They are just proceeding, you know, as if nothing has happened. So at the end of the day, what I would say is that, you know, he might issue the statement, which a person, he must still answer the issue of him facing corruption charges, and the case is opened, and he conveniently or was told to be recusing himself to the ethics committee and the other members who are serving on the Section 194 committee. So I can't say anything on the report. I don't know whether it's a report or what. The process is so unlawful and illegal. I'm still under testimony. You cannot go and look into my affidavit, because that I was still busy explaining and putting my side of the story. And what is interesting as well is that they never even bothered to consider the cross-examination, the inconsistencies and the lies of those witnesses, if they've ever done that. Because I think even on the questions, those issues were not taken into consideration. So I have not received anything, and they proceeded without my legal representation, without me, and the evidence leaders as well involving themselves in this illegality and unlawful process. So I haven't received anything actually, because even my attorneys haven't received anything. And worse, the attorneys who requested to read the record, who don't have a clue who's Samuel, who's Ekana, who's Tejani, and everyone, because they must still read and advise accordingly and brief counsel properly. But then they just do this with impunity, as if I am not a human being, as if I don't have rights. People who are even involved in alleged corruption and bribery. So it's so concerning.
Advocate Mkhwebane, you mentioned that you are yet to even lead evidence or give evidence on human resource matters, and they've gone on now to say the charges that relate to you and the CEO include intimidation, harassment, and victimization, and they've got like a one-liner on that. But another interesting aspect is that they say in respect of the CR17-Bosasa matter, members of the committee indicated that Advocate Mkhwebane did not conduct the investigation in a manner that ensured impartial or independent conduct of the investigation. Members indicated that Advocate Mkhwebane relied on the wrong ethical code to come to a determination. What does this tell you?
I must still say that that testimony has been presented. I've presented the code which I've utilized. The evidence leaders were so confused, didn't even understand when they were so-called empowering the legislatures. All ministers, all presidents, former ones were inducted on that particular code which I've used. The Constitutional Court I've shown during my testimony, they relied on that particular code. There are various reports which were issued by my predecessor using that code, and the issue of the judges of the Constitutional Court saying I've invented my own code, it's not true. It's not factually correct, because the code I've used is the code which has been used even before. But then at the end of the day, that's why I'm saying that whatever they've captured, I haven't seen that report. I don't know where as well you are reading those, or maybe from their statement. But the fact of the matter is, when you compile anything, you should also, even if you are still going to give that report to me, you should put the other side of what I said in my affidavit and during my testimony. But the concerning thing, again, coming back to the issue that I dealt with only 2 matters out of the 4 charges or 5 charges, and I'm still under oath. I'm still testifying. I don't recognize whatever report they are speaking about. But again, I think it's the issue of just doing things, being emboldened by, as well, being persecuted by some of the judges, and possibly doing this without any shame, being members of the legislature, and especially members of the ANC. I know DA never wanted to, my appointment never supported it. But then ANC also running with this motion of the DA and following this unlawful process. So I'm not giving this process any, I don't even recognize what they are doing. It's so embarrassing, actually. Yeah.
I'm actually reading a statement issued by the Parliamentary Communication Services on behalf of the chairperson of the Committee for the Section 194 inquiry, Mr. Kobutile Kyanki. It reads, but just finally, Advocate Mkhwebane, this statement also speaks of, in terms of the SARS investigation unit charge, members of the committee who participated in the deliberations agreed that evidence feeds the narrative that Advocate Mkhwebane entered into the investigation with a predetermined outcome and was not impartial. In respect to the report of the Inspector General of Intelligence report, the committee resolved that it must recommend that the unlawful possession of the classified report matter be referred to the State Security Agency for further investigation. Members noted that the classified report was unlawfully received and pursued, and that this amounted to misconduct. We've spoken on the channel before, and you had mentioned that there was already a predetermined outcome where this process is concerned. Taking a look at the statement and some of the contents, I know you are not yet privy to them as you have not seen them, but but from what is written and what you hear us read out to you here, do you still maintain that this process was flawed and there was a predetermined outcome?
I still maintain that, and the late Najumat Peterson indicated as well that Janji is under pressure to finalize this. Indeed, it was as well the way he conducted the proceedings. There was a predetermined outcome. And as I said, touching Bopravin Godan, touching the president, touching the Reserve Bank, those are untouchable in this country because you should maintain the status quo. Hence, I'm saying it's embarrassing for the ANC, the party which is supposed to deal with the emancipation of the poor and the marginalized, and doing my work, because as the Public Protector Constitutional Institution, protecting whistleblowers, protecting the information which I receive and information which can be brought to my attention. I have all the evidence. Your Busasa, I have all the statements, who was paid, who donated. I have all the information. So I think it's all trying to just discredit me. It's all trying to just make sure that I suffer for investigating the deep state corruption. And it's so unheard of that you'd find the executive, which is supposed to be investigated by the public protector, and the executive, which must be accountable and to Parliament, because Parliament as well is supposed to conduct the oversight. But you find the very same people ganging up to deal with me and to just rubbish my work. After having received 3 clean audits, after having helped a lot of community members, and this is how I'm being treated, as if I'm this. Even the hardened criminal is not treated the way I'm treated. It's just a vindictive process where even the judgments, the way they are captured just to deal with me. It's fine. My term is coming to an end in October. And I don't know why, if you get rid of me as the parliament of the ANC, will you ever change the living conditions of the poor and the marginalized? I mean, we are riddled with load shedding, people are unemployed, crime, health system is problematic, everything. But the process is just to deal with me. And to just, because I've investigated those untouchables and the hate which I'm receiving from these members of parliament who are supposed to be protecting me.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time this afternoon. Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane.